Hi, I'm Ronnie West.
And I'm Jeremy, or you can call me Dr. J, and this is Good Parents, Good Children. Well, we are a couple of strategy board gamers in real life. It's something we enjoy doing with our families. And here for our video series on parenting, we just want to share that other parents out there may want to play board games with their children. So we picked some of our favorites to let you know about them just in time for the holiday season. Here's the first one. It's Go Away Monster. Ronnie.
Yes, so Go Away Monster is excellent. It is, I think this game, kids as young as maybe 2, but definitely 3 can play it. It's that easy. And what's great, you think about games that only 2 or 3 year olds can play, and they're truly horrendously terrible for parents.
Not even games.
They're awful. Okay. And you could argue this isn't a game in some ways, but it's perfect for 2 or 3 year olds. It's super easy to understand. It's fun to play with, and it's like 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. If you can keep them to, so everybody has their own little board like this. See, it's got like a kid's bedroom, and then you take turns drawing a tile from the bag, right? So I drew a bed, and I would put the bed on the board where it goes, right? And so your 2 or 3 year old can do this. You can help them. Then I keep drawing, right? Well, this time I drew a monster. Oh no. So that you throw this into the box and say, go away, monster. And that's the whole game. You keep going until you fill your room. 2 year olds, 3 year olds love it. Now, I mean, for a game that a 2 or 3 year old can play, this is a masterpiece. It's not a little bit good. For a 2 or 3 year old, this game is great. So if you have a really, and I mean, even 4 and 5 year olds can get a kick out of it. So major recommend. And that one, yeah, 10 minutes, 2, 3 years old. That's the deal.
Well, thanks, Ronnie. Our next game is going to be Animal Upon Animal. This is one that you can play with probably your 3 year olds and up. Basically anybody that's got basic gross motor skills. It is your Jenga killer. What you're going to be doing is putting these cute little animals on top of this alligator. It is a fine motor dexterity game. You can see Ronnie's playing over there. I'm playing over here. There is a loose little die mechanic here that can tell you whose turn it is. You don't really have to play with that. It's basically just better Jenga. Plays fast, play with 3 or 4. You should buy it. If you have this age children, you should buy this game.
And this is, I'd say 3 might be able to play it, 4
definitely.
And this is one like Go Away Monster. What's great about it is it's short, right? And it's fun to see the little kid being super excited, and that will entertain the parents for like a few minutes. This one is like kind of legitimately fun for adults. So, and it's also brief, what, 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Shorter.
Pretty quick, pretty stinking quick.
Next up, we have Dragon's Breath, which, by the way, was the 2018 Kinderspiel winner, which means it was the game of the year for kids.
Yes, that's a cool German gaming award thing. All right, so you'll notice these are both Haba games. See this cool yellow box, Haba brand.
That's the publisher.
All Haba games, I mean, I don't want to be overly selling them, but Haba makes great games, great components. If you buy a Haba game, you're getting a high quality product, and a lot of them are really, really good. They're the best maker of games for kids.
For kids.
6 and under, something like that.
Yeah.
So this one is legitimately fun for adults. You've got cool little like dragon deals, and you've got this board like this. And what you're doing is you take a bunch of rings that look like this. You stack the rings up into a tower, and then there's these super cute gems. And so you dump all the gems into the ring tower, okay? And then what you do is you've got this board here, and you've got your dragons. And on your turn, you take a ring off of the gem board, okay? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it so that if you're the one taking the ring off, you want the fewest gems to fall out, if I think is how that works. And then if you're one of the other players, you want a bunch of gems to fall out. What you're hoping to do is you're hoping to guess. No, what it is there's different colored gems. So everybody guesses which gem is going to fall the most. So you're trying to take the ring off so that the correct gems fall out and you win the most points. It's super cute. It's all about just taking the rings off the right way. I'd say 4 to 5 year old plus, but I mean, older kids and adults can enjoy it. It's tight.
Yeah, sounds fun. You need to send this one home with me.
Yeah, you should try.
Next, we've got Kente. Now, Ronnie, this is one I played with you a while ago, and I believe it's similar to Go, but simpler, more approachable?
I don't know enough about Go to say that. It is an abstract like Go. It's got a similar board. It's just 2 different colored gems and then a grid. You could make it yourself, honestly. You could buy this brand new for $20 on Amazon, and it's in garage sales for cheaper. It's been around since the 70s. So this is like a simple 5 in a row game, but what makes it cool is, yes, you take turns placing gems, and if you get 5 in a row, you win, but there's a way where you could potentially capture people's tokens. So there's rules for capturing tokens. It's a simple rule. It's like if they have 2 tokens and you sandwich it, you can steal the 2 tokens away, which is really, really cool because you're constantly trying to figure out how to get 5 in a row and not let yourself get captured and look for an opportunity to capture. This game, the first time somebody plays it, it's literally 3 to 5 minutes. And the longest I've ever played this game is maybe 15. So this game, although 2 adults can play this and really enjoy it, and they can bust out 3 games in under 30 minutes pretty easily, you can play this with a 5-year-old and it'll improve their logic skills. They can enjoy it. If you're trying to get your child to be okay with losing, right? Because this is a really important skill, knowing how to lose. Well, they can play this a ton of times in a row. So they lose, 3 minutes later, they lose, 3 minutes later, they lose, and they're still having some fun. And then they can get accustomed with that. And this is the game that made me realize I don't hate abstracts. Like it's quick. So it's not like chess that can take forever. You don't plan super far ahead because you're just looking for opportunities to capture. It's great. I've played it, I don't know, 200 times, something like that.
So I'm noticing that we're going from games for our youngest children to our older children. We made it to 5 and over with Kente. Next up, we've got Ubungo. What kind of game is this and who is it for?
Okay, so this one, it's playing with Tetris shapes, Tetris shaped pieces. Now this has multiple different ubongos. Like there's a 2-player ubongo and there's some weird ubongos, but the main game comes with, you get a bunch of different little Tetris-y looking pieces, and you get different puzzles like this. And there's puzzles that take 3 pieces and puzzles that take 4. Everybody gets these puzzle pieces, and then they have the same pieces to work with, and they're trying to fill the puzzle out the fastest. And whoever fills the puzzle out the fastest with the correct Tetris pieces gets to take a gem that's worth points. And so you go through, I think, 9 rounds of filling out your puzzle the fastest you can. There's an easy side and there's a hard side. So players that are doing well or older players can play the hard side, little kids can play the small side. Recently, my 4-year-old played it. I mean, she can't do great, but she was able to enjoy it and play it and have fun. I'd say commonly, I think most 6 or 7-year-olds can play this, especially if they've practiced things like Kente and they've built up their ability to sit for a while and pay attention and they're okay with losing. They've got those skills in the bag. Then I think 4 or 5-year-olds can play. If they don't, then certainly 6, 7, 8-year-olds. It's quick. I'd say the whole game, 30 minutes or less. And last I saw, it wasn't too expensive. Really, really great family game. Plays up to 4. I should say this. Kente is a 2-player game. This is a 4-player game. Animal Upon Animal, I think, is 2 to 4.
2 to 4.
Dragon's Breath, 2 to 4. And Go Away Monsters, 2 to 4. So the only one that's not 2 to 4 so far is Kente. Yeah, cool. Tell us about Villainous. You play this one.
Sure. Next up, we've got Disney's Villainous. This is sure. It's a 2 to 4 player game. My 7-year-old played it fine when he was 6. It is a game where you take on the role of villains from the classic Disney movie, and you're playing against the other villains, which are the players. You're also playing against the good guys from your movies. In a sense, it's a move and take action game, but it's also a take that and kind of deck management game. The theme is really fun, and there's some light strategy involved. I usually beat my son, but he can actually beat me as well. A lot of replayability. This is one that we really enjoy.
Really cute components. Like I was trying to show those off while he was talking. It's got some really fun little things. So that's a nice little. All right, now I can't put the stupid thing away. So.
Sure. Who should buy this one? If you're a Disney fan, if you like playing bad side, if you like basic competitive games and want your children to be able to play with you.
I will say the tiny disadvantage, not huge, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. If you don't play a lot of board games, if you haven't learned and taught board games as an adult, like read the rules yourself and learn them, this is the first one so far that'll take a little bit longer to read, but to learn the rules, read the rules and learn them on your own if you're not used to doing that. But there's videos online that can explain it to you. and it's not that bad. We're not getting to ones that are, like harder yet. But from now on, every game that we're going to be showing, there'll be a little bit of challenge in reading the rules and learning how it goes. I'll let you know if it's on the easier side for that.
Well, Ronnie, tell us about Cartographers.
Yeah, Cartographers so this is what's considered a sort of a roll and write. Although this one you don't roll, you flip cards instead. But what you've got is, so you think like the Yahtzee genre, right? But the theme of this is like you're playing a role-playing game and you're the dungeon master that gets to make the map. So the beginning of the game will start with a blank map. Everybody's got a blank map like this. And you can't see in the camera, but it's got a grid, okay?
There we go.
And what you're going to do is you draw cards that tell you what you can draw on the grid, right? You can draw cities that are certain shapes, and you're drawing them in Tetris shapes again, okay? So you draw cities, or you draw, rivers or farms or whatever. And there's monsters that sometimes your opponents can draw monsters on your board and cost you points. And so you are all drawing the same kinds of things, but there's goals. It'll say, your second biggest city will score in this way. So then in that case, you want to have 2 cities and have the second one be pretty big. Or, you want waterways to be next to farmland, or different patterns you can make to score points. So everybody's trying to do that. So it's like, think Yahtzee, but if you remember Yahtzee is mostly luck. The decisions you make are pretty simple, and it doesn't make anything super pretty. We actually keep our drawings. You'll see, like, this is a drawing somebody made. Let me see if you can see it. We use color pencils for this. So it makes a pretty cool looking map. And while we're playing, we're all drawing fun little things. So you're making an attractive looking map. It's fun while you're playing it, and also trying to figure out how to score well is pretty great. This one, the youngest of my kids that's played it is 6. She plays a lot of games for a kid her age. So I think maybe for kids who don't play a lot of games, 8 or 9 might be normal. But if your kid plays a decent amount, you could get as low as 6. It's not that complicated. I'd actually say the rules to learn, if you're reading the rule book, it'll be a little bit easier than Villainous, but about the same age kid could play. And I'd say it's 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast or slow your family takes the turns. And you can, this is great too. Big family, you're only limited by how big your table is. It's a sheet per person. You can print off new sheets. If you run out of sheets, you can play with 10 people. As long as you have a way to make sure they know how the scoring works and they can see that. Cool. Just give them the sheet. It's great.
Let's look at the crew.
All right, cool.
Cool. The crew has been a big hit for my family. It is a trick-taking card game for 3 to 5 people. So trick-taking, like the classic games of spades or heart or pinochle. So if you're introducing this one, you already know a good deal about how to play. The difference is that it is a fully cooperative trick-taking game. So if you're playing with 3 or 5 people, you're all trying to accomplish the same sorts of things together. My 6-year-old plays this is good for, it's tough maybe for 6, 7, 8 for sure. And it's also a campaign. So what the game will do is give you a mission. Different people will try to take different cards when they take tricks while you're playing. That scenario could take just 7 minutes, maybe even up to 20. There's 50 missions in the box. Also really quite inexpensive. You're gonna be able to find this for $15 or less. And it was the 2020 Kennerspiel Game of the Year, which means strategy board game of the year. So a big winner for my family.
What ages did you say? Youngest?
6 or 7 is a possible. 8's a for sure.
Okay. And I hate trick-taking games normally, and this one is pretty decent. I'm not in love with it, but for trick-taking, it's pretty good. The cooperative makes it better. It is pretty fast. And the variety, since you're doing different scenarios, every game, it doesn't feel like you're playing a whole different game.
That's right.
It definitely feels like the same game. But it's a pretty good amount of variety. Like, it shifts just a little every time you play. So it doesn't, if you're enjoying the trick-taking experience, it changes it just enough to really keep it intriguing.
My family has played over 50 times, probably pushing 70 times.
And if you, like, this is a good one too, because yes, you can play with your family, but let's say you put the kids to bed, you've got a couple of friends over, you could definitely play this with a couple. It is 3 to 5 players, no 2 players.
Not
no
2,
6.
not 6.
Yeah.
Now, Ronnie, this is one you've told me about before. Tell us about Santorini.
Okay, so like Again, I don't think of myself as being interested in, you want to show the computer?
Oh, sure.
That? Okay, cool. I don't think of myself as being super into abstracts. Or I used to think I just hated them. I don't care for chess and things like that. And then Kente showed me that yes, I can enjoy abstracts. So then I saw this one come along, and it's a little bit abstract too. So there's like a really simple abstract game, and then built on top of that, there's some extra fun stuff. So the deal is, you've got little dudes, right? Each person has 2 people on this little grid, and on your turn, you move a dude, and then you build a building piece. And there's 3 levels and a dome. And your goal is to move up the stairs. Like if you're on level 0, you can move up to level 1. If you're on level 1, if there's a level 2 adjacent to you, you can move to level 2. So what you're trying to do is move and build so that you're able to move from level 2 building to a level 3 building. But you can cover a level 3 building with a dome, right? So you're trying to move and build in such a way that your opponent isn't able to get onto a level 3. You dome it too soon, or you block their path or whatever. But then you're also trying, and at the same time as trying to stop them, you're trying to do it. Okay, so that's a simple abstract game. What's cool is it's got this Greek deity theme. Whenever you play as a different Greek deity, a different Greek god, and each of them have cool abilities. Like some of them can move a lot further than normal. Some of them can build twice. Some of them can move twice. They have all different kinds of abilities. So every game you play 2 different Greek gods against each other. It's primarily a 2-player game. You can play 3 or 4. And that gives it tons of variety. Just like how I said, Kente is short. This is not like chess where you can play 30 minutes, hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. This is 15 to 20 minutes. And it can play 3 or 4. I preferred it 2 by far, but it's okay at 3 or 4. It's not expensive. $20 game, maybe. Very, very pretty. And it doesn't feel like you're playing an abstract. I really can't recommend it enough for families. I think it's just superb.
Next up, we've got Karuba.
Yes. So this one, and for Santorini, I'd say the youngest 5, maybe 6 is the youngest. They'll enjoy it more when they're 7, 8, 9, but you could get a 5 or 6-year-old to play it. It's pretty good.
And this for Karuba,
I would also say 5 or 6 if they're a gamer. If they play if they play a decent number of games. If they don't play a lot of games, I'd say 8 or 9 might be the earliest. This one can play up to 4 players. We actually bought 2 copies, and we have all the components in one box. We can play up to 8 players. And the deal with this is everybody has their own grid board and their own stack of tiles. The tiles have different roads on them, right? So it can be like a straight up and down road, or a left-right road, or a curved road, or it can be like a road that is like a T shape, or an X road. And what you're trying to do is you've got men along the beach side. Let me see the board again. You've got men along the beach side of the board. So on the board, you'll have men on the beach that are different, that are wearing different colored hats. And then you've got temples that match the colored hats, right? So you want the brown hat guy to have a path to the brown temple, and the purple hat lady to have a path to the purple temple, wherever it is in the forest. So as the game progresses, you're placing tiles that you have to place tiles. It'll say, this is the next tile you get to place. You have to place the tiles. And then as the game progresses, you can start discarding tiles to move the figures, the little men, along the paths to try to get to the temples. Basically, whoever gets their men to the temples first is going to get the most points and win. And then there's ways to pick up gems along the way as well. So you're just trying to get points, but it's kind of like who can make the most efficient path and the quickest. This is just great. This is close to my favorite straight family game weight. And since if you're really patient with them, you can get 6, 7, 8-year-olds to play it. It just is such a good family game. Really, really great. Now, it does only play 4, but it's not hard. In my opinion, you can buy 2 copies, and then it can play up to 8. So even big families can play it.
Sure. And it won the 2016 Spiel des Jahres, or Game of the Year.
Yes, and it's not expensive. I'd say if only adults are playing it, they might be able to bust this out in 30 minutes. With a family, the kids are a little slower, maybe more like an hour, and it's not expensive. I think it's $20, $30. And this is one of the few Haba games, Haba mostly makes kind of little kid games, family game level for this Haba.
Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns is an AEG game. They're another family weight game company. This has become a favorite in our household. It is a very basic puzzle and city building game. So much like we've been saying about Tetris, this time you're trying to form little puzzles and put them on little cities that you have in front of you. But the pieces that you place are going to be based upon cards that you draw or decisions made around the table. So based on this little puzzle that you see here, you're trying to get those blocks on your board, and that's going to let you build buildings.
It's like the card creates a recipe. So this recipe is yellow, blue, red in that shape. So you put the yellow, blue, red in that shape on here, and that lets you build this building, and that'll give you this point getting ability.
That's right. So it is a point getting game, and effectively it's a dance of how many more buildings can I fit onto my map than my opponents can. It's usually pretty friendly for families. Rarely do we run into situations where somebody wasn't able to score. So for a family weight, that's a bit more strategic. It's really nice. This is for 9, 10-year-olds. Younger children can and do play it for sure, but at 9, you're definitely going to be at a competitive level, best with 3 to 4.
And I would say, I mean, obviously any 2-player game that goes head to head can feel kind of mean. So like Santorini can feel mean because it's 2-player head to head, same with Kente. But as far as the games you play with more than 2, this is the first one that can feel a little bit mean. It doesn't have to. It depends on how people play, but you're getting, normally the way you play it is you get to choose whether people have to play the glass, the blue glass cube or the red brick cube. And you can look and go, the brown wood cube will help me with what I'm doing, and it'll be terrible for that person. So I'm going to choose that. And then I don't even know what they're going to try to do with that thing. Right. So you can do that and be a little bit mean, but you don't have to. And honestly, playing games that are mean with the kids is good. It's good for the kids. It's useful. It's character building. And I'm not just joking when I say that.
Price has gone down since it was released. You can definitely find this one for less than 30.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Next up, we've got Gizmos.
Gizmos is what you might call a engine building game, kind of. There's a lot of cards, and as the game progresses, you're paying energy to get cards. So the way this works is there's some energy coming out of this tower. This right here will create a little tower. There's a thing right here, and inside the tower is going to be all these balls of energy, and then the balls of energy will come down here. So it looks cool. And on your turn, you'll have the chance to collect energy balls out of this area and add them to your own little personal energy holder. So this will be sitting on the table in front of you, and you'll be holding these balls of energy. And then you spend different color balls of energy to buy these cool cards. But see, as you get the cards, they will make it easier to get more cards and easier to get more energy and easier to hold more energy and easier to spend more energy. And you just get better and better. That's why it's an energy building game. Beginning of the game, really, you can take one energy or you can buy one card. But as the game progresses, you might have a turn where you take a lot of energy and you build a card and you get a card to set aside you can build later. Splendor is a popular family game. I also recommend it. Splendor is good. I think Splendor is a little expensive for what you get. It is pretty, but it's a little pricey for it. It's like $30, and I feel like it's more of a $20 game. I also think it's a little light for what it is. It's like Splendor takes about an hour. This, it's a lot more game. It's not a lot harder to teach, and you get to do a lot more fun stuff in your turn. Splendor, I think, might, as like an aside, Splendor can, 6, 7-year-olds play Splendor. This is more for 8, 9, 10 and older. But the engine building is really cool. And this is another one. This is great to just play with adults. So was Tiny Towns. That's right. If you play with your adult friends when they come up, Tiny Towns is great for that. Gizmos is great for that. Gizmos is a great family game for medium, for 8, 9, 10-year-olds and older. It's also just a great game. Like, it's just a really good game. Yeah.
And we're also addressing, where do you get games? You can buy Splendor at Target. For Gizmos, you're going to want to look for that intentionally. You can Amazon. You can easily buy it on Amazon.
All of these are purchasable on Amazon. There's a variety of great like board game buying website, Game Nerds, Miniature Market. There's several others. But yeah, some of these are available at Walmart and Target. I feel like Wingspan.
Next up is Wingspan. Wingspan you can get at Target if it's not out of stock. It's been hard to find for just a couple of years. Ronnie, why don't you tell us about Wingspan?
So there's a little bit more stuff in this box than what will come if you just buy Wingspan. I've bought a couple of expansions for it too. But like these right here, I bought these. These are extra.
Sure. Well, what is this game?
Okay, sorry. So this game takes 1.5 to 2 hours. It's also an engine building game. If you play with all adults, hour and a half. You play with kids, you have to be a little more patient. I think it's like Gizmos in that it's lots of cards. At the beginning of the game, you can only do a little bit per turn. And then as the game progresses, your turns get more cool. You can get a lot more done per turn. So it's an engine building game in that way. This one is definitely heavier. So I'd say, my daughter who just turned 9 has been playing this for 6 months. She plays a lot of games. So I'd say 8 years old is probably about as young as you can expect. And that's for gamers. It'd be more 10 and older would be more the norm. Great for adults and for older kid families. Really cute components. So what you're doing is, I don't know what you are, the Lord of the Birds. I don't know, bird watcher. I'm not sure what you're supposed to be, but what you're doing is,
well, you're creating eggs.
Yeah, you're I don't know. You're playing bird cards on a board. And you can play bird cards in the forest or bird cards in the wetlands or bird cards in the grasslands or whatever. And different bird cards will do different things and it lets you do stuff. So, you need eggs to build them. You need food to build them. So you're collecting eggs, you're collecting food, you're collecting birds, and that's all part of the engine building process. It's really, really cool. Yeah, it's beautiful. This has won several awards. It's one of the most popular games on Board Game Geek for good reason. The first time I played it, I wasn't sure if I loved it, but the second time I played it. I bought every expansion that was available. I've played it, I don't know, a couple dozen times. It's one of my favorite games. It's really good for adults and for families with older kids.
Now, Ronnie, we're coming to our last game, which is
Hiroshima Hex. Hiroshima Hex. Now, this is the fancy edition. So the normal edition of Hiroshima Hex won't be in this big of a box and stuff. I own every expansion for it. I really, really like it. This one, so, there was Kente, small, abstract game. And then the next one that was an abstract was Santorini. This one's a little bit abstract. It's this one you might think is for older kids because some of the art is a little bit, you might think it's a little bit rough. I mean, I don't care. But my 8-year-old has been playing this for a year or so, like my daughter who just turned 9. She's been playing this the whole time she was 8. It comes with these cool tiles. And what you do on your turn is you get to play tiles onto a shared board with little spots for the hexagon tiles. And then every once in a while, you'll have a battle and all of your tiles will get to fight each other. The rules are among the ones that are a little bit more complex of the ones we've taught. I'd say for a gamer kid as young as 7 or 8, for most kids, 10, 12, teenagers would definitely get a kick out of this. And if you like it, there's all kinds of little armies you can buy. They're all $7 to $10 to buy more armies. It's post-apocalyptic, so it's kind of a mix between Terminator. There's like robots that fight each other, Mad Max, any movie about the end of the world, they've got an army that you can choose that'll be like that. They've got the Sand Runners are kind of like the Fremen from Dune. And Moloch is kind of like Terminator, and they've got all kinds of weird different themed groups. There's one that's it's like every tile is part of a forest, and the forest is all one thing, and it's trying to fight whoever comes into its forest or whatever.
It sounds more thematic than some of the other games we've looked at.
It is more, it's weird because it's thematic, but it feels kind of abstract like Santorini or Kente or chess-ish kind of, and it's more of a battle game. This one you can play with 3 or 4. It's definitely best at 2. This is primarily a 2-player game. But if you buy 1 copy of it, you can print up an extra map. So multiple times I've played where I play with one of my children and then 2 of my kids are playing next to each other. It's really easy to do that. I can help them with rules and stuff, and they can have a lot of fun. It's under an hour. Adults could finish a game in 30 minutes or less sometimes. I'd say 45 is probably the norm. For most kids, they could play this 12, 13, 14 or older. For gamer kids as young as 8. And this is one of my favorite games. Really, really good.
We've got one honorable mention, which is Dominion. Long ago, winner of Spiel des Jahres Game of the Year. It is a deck building game. Matter of fact, it is the deck building game, which means it's a card game, a non-collectible card game. But like once upon a time, if you've heard of Magic the Gathering, people would make their decks outside of the game and bring them to the game. In Dominion, during the game, you're building your deck. Right. That's what the game does. You're trying to make a certain kind of deck to score the most points at the ends, but it plays 2 to 4 and it plays in half an hour to a very long game, might be an hour. And that's going to be accessible to most children who can read. So 8, 9, really 10, you're competitive. There is some engine building quality to it because you're trying to hit card combos. But family weight game, that one's also in the category of, am I getting interested in strategy games, right? Am I going just past the Ticket to Rides of the world?
And with that, I found out about Dominion. It was made in 2008. I discovered it in 2010. Somebody showed it to me. I showed it to you, and that's why we're in this hobby. So we've been playing strategy games, European style games for 11 years. And Dominion's what started it all. I mean, I played it hundreds of times. I don't play it as much anymore, but if you're looking for games for families, you want to get your kids interested in gaming, Dominion is must mention. Really, really, really good. And there's lots of expansions, so you can get a bunch of expansions, and that's really fun too. Great with 2, 3, or 4. Yeah, it's a high quality. It's a very, very good game, and not super expensive. If you just get one box, it's not super expensive, and the other boxes aren't bad.
And with that, I'm Jeremy, or Dr. J.
And I'm Ronnie West. Check out all of the Good Parents, Good Children videos.